We play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to the next episode of Lore Hunter, where I hunt for the answers to your lore questions. Today's question comes from David. So many of the armies in both Age of Sigmar and 40k seem to be just rolling machines of death and destruction. So who are the good guys or heroes of the Age of Sigmar and 40k universes? That's a very interesting question, David, especially for 40k. I've always felt like when you look at 40k just in its general sense and you're reading the codices and the major armies, it doesn't feel like any of them are really the good guys. Because on one hand, you have the xenospecies like the Eldar, who are just remnants of what they used to be, and they don't care about anybody else. They're as xenophobic as humans are. And so they're always manipulating other races for their own goals. You got the orcs, who are just running around, just spreading destruction and carnage. You have the Tyranids, who, while you can't look at them necessarily as a bad guy, you can look at them more as a force of nature. They're still obviously not a good guy. You've got the Imperium of mankind, which would technically be what you'd think to be your good guy, but they oppress their citizens, put them under the rule of an emperor who demands the tithes of thousands of souls on a daily basis, has a horrible bureaucracy, and mostly everybody lives in horrible, horrible squalor. And then you have Chaos, which wants to corrupt everything and turn them into horrible, evil images of whatever they're trying to do. And the Necrons, who want to cleanse the entire galaxy and let them reign in their cold and unforgiving ways. The only one that really stood out to me as having maybe a sense of good to them was the Tau. But even they kind of had the join us or die kind of mentality. So they're the closest to what that seemed. So it kind of felt like this universe of 40k, Warhammer 40k, was a rather grim dark. And to be honest, we could stop right there and just say that was the intent. It is grimdark, everything is horrible, there aren't really any good guys, it's just people trying to stay alive. But that would be doing a grave injustice to the wonderful Warhammer 40k universe that has been developed in the hundreds, if not thousands at this point, probably still hundreds, I don't know, of novels in the Black Library, of which I've been able to read quite a few of and get a really good idea of life and what people are like once you get past the generalizations. It was through reading series such as the Gaunt's Ghost series, where we follow Imperial Guardsmen led by Commissar Gaunt. Also the series of Ravener, of course, the Inquisitor Ravener and his efforts to try to stem the tide of chaos. And the Beast Arises series, the 12-book series, illustrating one of the biggest orc invasions ever, and getting to follow along with some Imperial Fists and others as well, that I realized that there are plenty of good guys. And in fact, the Imperium could be looked at as a good guy, but not as a whole. As a whole, it is a cankerous sore that is a bureaucratic nightmare where everybody's trying to keep their own interests in mind, and very few of the upper echelons of that really have any care whatsoever for humanity. All you have to read is The Beast Arises to realize just how defunct the Imperium of mankind is. If the Emperor of mankind was still alive, I could claim that it's a good organization because I think overall he had good intentions for humanity. Even during the Great Crusade, as they went to liberate things, they were even working with some Xenos races as well. They weren't quite as xenophobic as they are now. But as you go into the series like Ravener or Gaunt's Ghosts or lots of the other series, or if The Beast Arises, you start to see that once you go down in the ranks and you are meeting an Inquisitor, which I know is funny to say down in the ranks because Inquisitor is pretty high up, or you meet a Commissar and you see the people that they're working with, you realize that they are really at that level trying to do what's right for people. The Inquisitor will still kill a heretic on sight without much questioning. He'll still do what he has to do, but more of that is because he has no choice. There's just too much evil and chaos, and he has to stem it as quickly as he can. But he still works, and he still cares about his acolytes, and he still cares about the people that he's trying to free and the people of the world that he's trying to free, and try to avoid the whole exterminatus button and try to solve the problems in a different way, and just working for the greater good of the Empire. Same thing with The Beast Arises. We see a lot of the good in the Space Marines who are frustrated, and others as well, who are frustrated by the bureaucracy of the Imperium of mankind, and they're trying to defeat this enemy so that humanity continues to live. We see the good in Commissar Gaunt, who really cares about his men. Now, at the same time, Commissar Gaunt, I think, is not the rule. I think he's the exception. I think most commissars, as we see in the lore, are happy to shoot somebody if they try to retreat in order to get the rest of them to stay and fight. Inquisitors are happy to hit that exterminatus button, to go in and purge and kill and torture and maim in order to get their work done. They all feel like they're doing the right work. So I think overall, your ratio of heroes to bad guys in the 40k universe is grimly small, but there are still plenty of them. And I still think the Emperor is a genuine good guy trying to do what is right. Even if he hasn't always done it right, I still think that he tries his best. But now he's kind of stuck on the golden throne, more a consciousness than a sentient being, just trying his best to hold chaos at bay, or whatever the heck it is that he's doing while he is consuming those thousands of souls every single day in order to keep the Astronomicon burning bright for those who want to travel through the warp. Age of Sigmar, on the other hand, I think has a more standard ratio of heroes to bad guys to people who just want whatever they want for a fantasy setting. In fact, if you were to look at most fantasy settings, be it Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons or just about anything else, you'd probably see a similar kind of ratio where you have, yes, there are bad guys, but for every bad guy, there's a good guy, and then you have this large 95% of the population who are kind of a mixture of things. They're just trying to live their lives. They're trying to make ends meet. They're trying to stay alive. And some of them will be deceitful in that. Some, like, you'll have the shopkeeper who's honest and the shopkeeper who will do whatever he needs to make more money. You'll have the thief who's honorable and is just stealing to keep his family alive, and the thief who is not honorable. Like, you'll have that kind of same spectrum. So Age of Sigmar feels a lot more hopeful. The gods are still alive to some part. Like, Sigmar is not this dead god on the throne. Hopefully they don't do that to him. Nagash seems to be pretty evil, even though he still has his belief as to why he's doing what's right. Chaos is interesting because as you learn more about them, at least Nurgle is the one that I know the most about. He feels that he's doing what everybody would want. He's just like, why are you guys resisting this? What I offer you is so awesome. So you could argue that even he's trying to be a good guy in his own way, but you can still pretty much look at Chaos as being evil. Now, when you look at, in Age of Sigmar, you look at the Destruction Grand Alliance, and that's where it gets a little more fuzzy, because for the most part, you see Destruction as bad guys, because they just want to destroy things. But they see their methodology as its own form of order, that they're bringing order to chaos by just leveling everything, because, you know, a level ground is very, very ordered. You also have the whole Grand Alliance of Order, which is definitely not full of good guys. The Idoneth Deepkin are a good example of this. While they can work with good guys, mostly they're not good. They steal your souls to stay alive, and they are xenophobic as well. They only work with you because they need to, which is too bad. And you have that same thing kind of with the Daughters of Cain. Then you have like ones that are more like good guys, like the Duradin and the Elves and the Humans and the Stormcast Eternals and the Fire Slayers and Kharadron Overlords. I know they're just Duradin as well. But still, you have that typical alliance of humans, elves, and dwarves, which are considered to be good. And then we have the extra interesting ones like the Seraph and the Lizardmen and other units of order that are working to fight. So I feel that Age of Sigmar has much more happiness and many more heroes in it in a ratio to bad guys that 40k does. 40k is definitely more like a dystopian future. A dystopian would actually make it sound better than it actually is. It's very grimdark. Age of Sigmar is more your typical high fantasy where there's plenty of pockets of good and happiness and also plenty of pockets of horrible evil and everything in between those. So there, David, is what I think about who are the good guys or heroes in the Age of Sigmar and 40k universe. If you're interested in having your question answered on Lore Hunter, make sure you leave it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Happy wargaming.